Hey class, my name's Will Homskis. For our video this week on the postbellum era and the economy and how it played a role in individuals' lives, I decided to look at J.P. Morgan. I thought that would be interesting when I was looking up different people from this time. And, I've always heard about them, but didn't know a ton about them until this research. And there were two main sources that I used through this. There was a book written by Edward Morris that's kind of it's a biography talking about the life of J.P. Morgan. And then there was also another book that I looked at that talks about the financial crisis of 1890 and the 1990s. And I'll explain later how that one's actually used. But when first going through it, Morgan, he grew up wealthy. He came into a family of wealth. So he never really had to struggle. But he was known to be very cunning in his business. And he's going to make a lot of his money in very good business decisions and taking advantage of the industries that are now taking over during this time in U.S. history. So it first talked about how he was just a clerk working for his dad's office in different places, and he was sent to New Orleans to do business. And while he was there, he actually ran into a guy who had a ton of coffee he was trying to sell, and he could not find anyone to buy it. So Morgan, realizing he had a ton of money on him, decided to buy it himself and found a merchant that he then sold it to and actually made some money. In doing this, his father and others that they decided that he needed to have a bigger role in the business because he was showing that he had some kind of business sense to him, that he could understand how to make money. And then when it was looking at it, he ended up doing a lot of banking firms and creating stuff internationally as well in Europe. He did Great Britain. He learned how to speak French. He did a lot of things where he could really go in Europe, but a lot of this money made its way back to American businesses. And this is kind of the first time you start to see that American businesses, not just the crops and selling them overseas for them to now produce it, is starting to come back towards America, especially in the northern part of America. The South is still very reliant on agriculture. And as it was going through, I then found that in 1879, William Vanderbilt is going to approach him in buying stocks. And this is where J.P. Morgan's going to now get started into the stock market. So this is kind of the first time in U.S. history that you're going to see that people can make some serious, serious money on just the stock market alone. And, there's a lot that goes into the stock market that, I'm not educated enough to talk about, but there was a lot of stuff that he did with that and making even more money. And it's going to lead to him then getting into the railroad system. So as the industry's built with steel and all these different things, we expanded by using the railroads. And J.P. Morgan did a lot in it. And he actually had the largest transaction of railroad bonds in U.S. history that he sold for $40 million. And I couldn't even imagine how much that would be today. And it was a lot of this stuff, but it was all a really cool and interesting thing that came from the issues that were happening financially. The U.S. had a panic in 1893 because the U.S. gold reserves were really depleted, and Morgan ended up finding a way to make money off this, where he gave money to the U.S. government. He gave them gold to help this situation, but he wanted a really high favorable rate on a 30-year bond. And the president, Grover Cleveland, didn't want to do it, wasn't sure if they could. And Morgan, being the smart guy he was, found a way through the Constitution, different things that were written that said that the Secretary of the Treasury could do this. So he ended up making a killing off of this around, when he ended up doing all of it in the 1890s, at the end of it, 95 and all that. And this kind of just shows the change in America, where now you're not having to have your own business for sake, or having to have your own farm. You're now able to actually make money off of stocks and buying into other companies and helping them build. So this time period is going to start to push us towards the America we see today. Thank you.